Universities in Nigeria were top on their list of choice universities for them to attend. But today, the quality of the education in our country is being called to question. I think the concentration should be more on the quality than on the number. 12 new universities have been approved. I mean, who is going to teach in those universities? What is the quality of education they're going to impart on the students who will attend those universities? I think these should be the issues we should be looking at.
Okay, I made the point that the government has a 4-year strategic plan. In fact, in 2010, even before he was elected in 2011, President Jonathan caused to be organized a national education summit. At the end of that summit, there was a task team, presidential task team that was set up, led by Professor Pai Obanya. And that team came up with a document saying necessary first steps to be taken to revive the education sector. And that was why everything was narrowed down to quality and access and empowerment. Okay, and it's a 4-year program. Don't forget that President Jonathan inherited that, education sector that you described, which has collapsed. In fact, when the Minister of Education was inaugurating the last set of governing councils, she made the point that there are issues. So those challenges are recognized, cultism, examination malpractice, lack of infrastructure, but government is taking those challenges one after the other. But the transformation, the transformation that you are talking about, the return to the old glorious days, it won't happen overnight, but the right steps are being taken. So government recognizes those challenges, and, this is something that all of us as Nigerians know need to be addressed.
I'm sorry to go back to this issue because I've got lots of questions coming in on Twitter. One of them is from a gentleman called Henry Sede. He says, what qualifies Salisu Buhari for that position apart from being a Nigerian?
Well, you see, the persons that are appointed to governing councils, it's on the basis of the, recognition that they are in a position to make a contribution. I told you earlier that those 4 persons that are, appointed by the visitor to the council, they represent a variety of interests. Okay, people bring...
What kind of interest?
Okay, just a moment. People bring different kinds of things, to the table when you are in a governing council. It could be maybe, your exposure in the business arena. It could just be your connections within the community. It could be the relevant experience that you have acquired. A university council deals with so many issues. From my experience, at Olabisi Onabanjo University, take something like community relations. There was a time we had issues with the Agowiye community. But luckily for us, we had on the governing council, persons who had very strong connections within that community. Okay, and they were the ones who went to the Oba, who discussed with the community, and the problem was solved. It could be something as basic as a particular student having been expelled, and an individual having the information and coming to council and say, look, I think that there is a case of injustice that council should consider. Okay, there are subcommittees. There are many ways in which people can contribute. If you look at the appointments, even journalists are members of council. We have Adefaye in Unilag. We have Tony Onyema, I think in ABU. We have Chief Innocent Paradike. These are journalists. The people who represent Nigerian interests, they can come from just about any background.
But they also have to be knowledgeable and familiar with the affairs and traditions of the university.
That is what the enabling law says. Yes. We are quoting the Universities Miscellaneous Provisions Amendment Act. Now, that they have to be knowledgeable with the affairs of the university. Okay, even as a parent, I think it's in the University of Lagos that they have these universities, parents, some kind of parents-teachers association at the university level. If you have even had a child going through the university system, you can, on the basis of that, even sit on council because you have an idea. You have been through it. You have had to pay school fees. You have had to take children through the system. And there are persons either representing congregation or representing convocation or representing a variety of interests whose only value that they bring to the place is that, there are Nigerians who are involved. with university education. And that is why that particular line, I think the framers of that section did not even say expressly that you must be a PhD holder or a university professor, or that you must even be a graduate. You just must have that engagement, and the passion to contribute to the building of a strategic sector in your country.
So you're saying there is no specific qualification for
the law does not say this is a specific qualification. She just quoted it. It just says you should have knowledge, you should have affairs, and I just said even a parent can sit on a university governing council.
Of the gentleman we just referred to, is there a specific qualification that makes it necessary or makes it compelling for the president to say he's appointed
I repeat again that this is just one man out of 251 persons.
The graduate.
No, well, just one person out of 251 that have been appointed so far, this year.
Okay. Now, on the issue of Almajiri, because we have to wrap up now, on the issue of Almajiri schools by the president, he has shown a lot of courage and commitment, and he has also shown that he's very keen on this. How many of those schools have been developed? I asked the same question of Ronto Douglas the last time he was on this show. How many have been completed? Because there are some amount of concerns that we've only had a show of a couple of them that were developed by the federal government, and nothing has happened ever since.
Well, I told you, I gave you a figure earlier on, you can double check with the Ministry of Education, that up to about 100, have been built. In the north and, in some other parts of the country. The word Almajiri is just an umbrella term, to increase school enrollment and completion rates. Take, for example, in the east, the word Almajiri is not used. I don't speak Igbo, but I think it's something they call umbukuike, something like that. I'm sure the pronunciation is not correct. Pardon me. But that one is particularly targeted at, the girl child, and all these young men who go to take on, apprenticeship, to become traders. Okay, and in parts of the north, there is at least one school that the president, formally inaugurated. It's not possible for the president to go to all the schools that have been built, but there's that particular one, and you need to see that particular one. I think it's in Sokoto State or so. Very well equipped. And the whole idea is to take these children off the streets.
Okay.
And the vision is to empower young people and make sure that they do something meaningful with their lives. And to create new role models, and ensure that you don't have an army of idle children, who can be recruited for unholy purposes.
Okay. As part of wrapping up, a gentleman here says his name is Stobash on Twitter. He says the governing council members are all PDP. It's a pity. Is government playing politics?
No, that is not true.
Okay.
That is not true. You see, my concern is that people just make these comments, they repeat them online, and people take them as gospel truths and all that. But we must look at the facts. I told you that between February and April now, we've had about 251 persons, okay? If you look at that list, who are the PDP members? Professor Kimse Okoko at the University of Uyo is not a PDP member, right? I'm not aware that General Adeyinka Adebayo is a PDP member. I'm not aware that Professor Adebulugbe is a PDP member.
Professors don't tend
I'm not aware that Dr. Rashid Ojikutu is a PDP member. Our colleagues, Tony Onyema, I don't think he's a PDP member. Benga Adefaye, I don't think he's a PDP member. Chief Innocent Oparadike, I don't think he's a PDP member. Professor Emeka Enejere, I don't think he's a PDP member.
Okay,
I can list the 251 names.
It's all right.
So if you see a few PDP, members there, I think they constitute a minority. And some of them, like Professor Tawhid Adedoja, I don't know whether he's in PDP or another party, but on his own, he has the credentials as an academic. Okay. Take Professor Alkali. Professor Alkali may have been a PDP, but he's qualified as an individual.
You win.
Okay.
Since we have
That's one of our programs, by the way. You win.
Since we have the benefit of your company this morning, I can't but take you to the JAMB issue. The debate is hot on now. What are your thoughts about cancellation of JAMB?
Well, again, I've had to deal with this question at another forum. And my point is that if you look at the stories announcing the UTME, you mean, and NECO, right?